The crucifixion of Jesus' background. Jesus' life was one of profound spiritual significance. He spent his life teaching love, compassion, and forgiveness, offering salvation to all who would believe in him. His message challenged the established religious norms, leading to growing tension between Jesus and the religious leaders of his time. They saw his popularity and teachings as a threat to their authority and feared the consequences of his growing influence. Despite his message of peace, Jesus was betrayed by one of his own followers, Judas Iscariot, which would ultimately lead to his arrest and crucifixion. The Last Supper. Jesus knew that his time was coming to an end. He gathered with his disciples in an upper room to share one final meal, known as the Last Supper. During the meal, he revealed that one of his disciples would betray him and that he would soon be handed over to the authorities. He took bread, broke it, and gave it to his disciples, saying, "This is my body which is given for you." Then he took the cup, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you." This moment symbolized his coming sacrifice for the sins of mankind. As they shared this meal, Jesus taught his disciples about the importance of love, service, and humility. He urged them to love one another as he had loved them, demonstrating the essence of his ministry. The Garden of Gethsemane. After the meal, Jesus and his disciples went to the Garden of Gethsemane, located on the Mount of Olives. There, Jesus experienced deep anguish, knowing that the time had come for him to face suffering and death. He prayed to God, saying, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will but yours be done." Despite his personal dread of the pain and suffering that lay ahead, Jesus surrendered to God's will, demonstrating profound trust and obedience. His disciples, however, fell asleep, unable to stay awake and support him during his hour of need. The arrest. Soon after, Judas arrived with a group of soldiers and religious leaders. Judas, the one who had agreed to betray Jesus, identified him with a kiss. Jesus was arrested, and his disciples, in fear, fled into the night. He was bound and taken to the house of the high priest, where an illegal trial began. The trial before the Sanhedrin. Jesus was tried before the Sanhedrin, the Jewish ruling council. False witnesses were brought against him, but their testimonies did not align. Finally, the high priest asked Jesus, "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One?" Jesus answered, "I am, and you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven." This was seen as blasphemy by the council, and they declared him deserving of death. The trial before Pilate. Jesus was then taken to the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, since the Jewish council did not have the authority to execute anyone. Pilate questioned Jesus, asking, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus replied, "My kingdom is not of this world." Pilate was puzzled, and despite finding no fault in Jesus, he was pressured by the crowd, who demanded Jesus' crucifixion. Pilate, trying to absolve himself of responsibility, offered to release a prisoner for the Passover festival, hoping to free Jesus. However, the crowd chose Barabbas, a notorious criminal, to be released instead. Pilate, fearing a riot, ultimately succumbed to their demands and handed Jesus over to be crucified. The scourging. Before Jesus was crucified, he was scourged or whipped by Roman soldiers. The scourging was a brutal punishment designed to weaken the victim and inflict maximum pain. Jesus endured this flogging, which left him severely beaten and bloodied. This physical suffering was only the beginning of the agony he would soon face. The crowning with thorns. The soldiers mocked Jesus, dressing him in a purple robe and placing a crown of thorns on his head. They struck him repeatedly, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" The crown of thorns dug into his scalp, adding to his torment. They spat on him and beat him, further degrading and humiliating him. Carrying the cross. After the scourging, Jesus was forced to carry the heavy wooden cross on which he would be crucified. Weakened by the beating, Jesus stumbled under the weight of the cross. A man named Simon of Cyrene was compelled by the soldiers to help Jesus carry the cross, as he was too weak to carry it alone. The journey to Golgotha, the place of execution, was one of immense physical suffering for Jesus. The Crucifixion. At Golgotha, Jesus was nailed to the cross. His hands and feet were pierced with large nails, and he was hoisted up between two criminals. As Jesus hung on the cross, he experienced not only physical agony, but also the spiritual burden of bearing the sins of the world. He cried out in anguish, my God, why have you forsaken me?" His words expressed both his deep